In just a matter of less than a half an hour, NASA's Artemis II mission will officially return to Earth. And we wanted to know what it was like to be inside mission control. So Kent asked a Minnesotan who knows.
I did, Jana. Paul Dye, you see him right here, was the longest serving flight director in the history of NASA. He also happens to be a Minnesota native and proud U of M alum who sat in mission control center chair with a Goldie Gopher mug. Look at that. Tonight, though, he's cheering on a generation that he helped train.
We had an Apollo day yesterday.
We did. During his final week working in NASA Mission Control in 2013, Flight Director Paul Dye and his team wore throwback uniforms to honor the Apollo missions that inspired him.
I was a young boy when we were flying to the moon in the late 60s, early 70s, and remember getting up and watching Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon with fuzzy black and white TV.
Dye says it was a dream to later learn from that Apollo team while he moved into the center chair for a new era.
I was selected as a flight director about the time we started flying missions to the Russian Mir space station. So I was kind of a specialist in that, and I flew all the missions to Shuttle Mir.
He says those missions taught us how to live in space.
Booster ignition.
Which brings us
and liftoff
to Artemis.
Artemis II, now bound for the moon.
I believe that our next real step is to establish bases on the moon so that we can establish the ability to live on another planetary body.
He says that future is already in sight, given the success of Artemis II. But first, he says Mission Control needs to bring them home.
You've been in mission control. You've seen missions from beginning to end. How critical is what we're about to see with re-entry and splashdown?
There's an awful lot of energy that has to come out. They're actually going to do a skip entry. So they're going to kind of dive into the atmosphere a little bit and then skip back out of it. There's a lot of energy to dissipate as heat, and that's always a critical time.
And because this re-entry will be twice as fast as any shuttle mission, there will be a communications blackout as Orion's heat shield reaches a temperature roughly half as hot as the surface of the sun, leaving the team in Houston to wait for 6 long minutes.
You're sitting in mission control. You know the science, you know the engineering, you've done this a million times. You know that they're going to come out the other side on time, but once or twice they don't. You're concentrated, you're spun up, your mind is going through all the possibilities. I was well known for twiddling pens and twiddling pencils, and I probably would be wearing out my pen.
What will you be looking at specifically in mission control as we get that bird's eye view?
Well, I'm going to be looking at the folks that I remember. They were kids when I left, and now they're the adults in the room. I'm going to be watching like a cheerleader, making sure that everybody is feeling good.
You said you were inspired by Apollo. How many kids out there do you think right now are being inspired by this that might help bolster that next generation?
I hope it's a lot. Going to the moon is inspirational. It's important to a human psyche to realize that you have inspiration, that you're out there exploring. We don't know why we explore. We simply genetically do. It's what we do.
That re-entry process is just beginning, and the critical blackout period we were talking about is supposed to start in just a few minutes. Not long after communication is restored and the parachutes deploy, Mission Control will hand off control to a different team from NASA and the U.S. military that will use helicopters to locate the crew, get them out of the capsule onto a raft, and eventually back to Houston. Jana.
I'm just anxious thinking about it. 24 minutes and 22 seconds from now. Thanks, Ken.